Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is Dreaded D, the infamous pirate captain protecting T-Fuel Island. Today we are doing episode number 3 of the public collection. And today we're going to be discussing Wrapped Theta, a very exciting topic that I've wanted to talk about for a long time now, publicly. So, without further ado, let us thank our First Division captains, as always. JJ, much appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for supporting the channel. And thank you for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And I am looking forward to seeing some of you join the First Division captains here. These are for my super OGs. These are for those that want to help support the growth of the stuff that I'm building, as well as my research, and access all of my content. And I really wanted to pose my Patreon to higher net worth individuals, but obviously I figured too that we all come from different income levels, and I figured out a tier structure where you can still gain access to the video library content for a reduced rate without sacrificing some of the qualities of those higher tiers. So without further ado, let us dive into Wrapped Theta. So this is something that I had discussed with some OGs a long time ago about what that means about bringing Theta to the DeFi space. And I think it could be potentially great for Theta's uptake when things start turning around or when devs start building out more. It gives incentives to people that actually hold Theta to start, building things, right? With T-Fuel, it really depends on what bag you hold more of, right? If you hold a lot of Theta, you want to provide value to the Theta holders. And this is something we discussed before in the last video. If you hold more T-Fuel, you're going to want to create applications derived from T-Fuel. So you have this split, like dichotomy between the two, where yes, there's a synergy that's at the base level, but on a lower level, when it comes to application base, there is a significant divide between the value draw that could be applied in a DeFi space, right? And with Wrapped Theta, this really opens up innovation for those devs that are OG holders, and I like that a lot. And obviously, we'll dive more into that as we go here. Just like Uniswap, this is how you trade on Uni. This is how you trade on most of these decentralized exchanges out there with ETH. So this isn't something super new. I think sometimes people have the question of, oh, is Wrapped Theta? Who's the custodian? No, it's not like that. This is really just taking Theta and putting it into a format where you can now trade it as a contract, and make it usable. So very important going forward. There's obviously an element to this that is involved with the subchains. So this is part of the metachain stuff that's going on, and that will be another video because I frankly do not have time to. That's a whole other topic. But yeah, it's all built in through the Theta wallet. I think what's important too to remember, if you do take Theta and wrap it, right, make sure you unwrap it before you send it to Binance or any of these other exchanges. I think that's important to remember. They've highlighted that in this article here on Medium. But I think just to reemphasize that they are not the same thing and will probably not be recognized the same way, and you may have to do a lot of begging to Binance or whoever you send them to hopefully convert them over to or send back to your originating address. So just a PSA with that one. I really like that we're now on Metamask. I think that is a big step, especially considering Metamask is where a lot of the institutional building is happening. Metamask has become the base of the Web3 wallet, and it's an important step, in my opinion, to get integration, as well as bridges. The problem is bridging over assets is challenging. It's not easy because there's risk involved. When you have two railways basically running against each other, two chains, and you have to figure out how to get and sync up and convert from this railroad on this side to this one and flip the switch. But usually there has to be something in the middle, and that's where a lot of the risk comes in. So I think with time we'll figure out the bridging issues, but I think that'll be a great way to pull capital from other chains, and I think it's a significant way to take tokens from other chains and port them over to our own blockchain. And making Theta versions of a lot of these ETH DeFi projects, I think that's an immense opportunity for a dev that is a Theta holder. It's not even that you have to come up with a new idea for Theta DeFi. It's that you just have to look at what is good over on ETH and go through their GitHub, go through what they have, and see if there's some value or something that you can pull from that and make it your own. Make your own version of it there, and it's not as much work. And yeah, does that seem like a little bit of a copycat? Yeah, but you're providing value directly to the Theta holders, right? So you're providing value in a way, as well as you're probably providing value to yourself because you have a tried and true tested process that's already working somewhere else, and now you want to take it and you want to apply it over here. So I think there's a significant amount of value in that, and it doesn't require a lot of innovative thinking, really. It's really just about, hey, can we do this over here like we did it over here? So that's something to think about too, and what DeFi applications should or would be built. I think immense opportunity for devs right now if Theta is something that they think is going to be big going forward. That first mover advantage will be large, to say the least. So, yeah, basically with this, I think this will be very good overall for the uptake of Theta, the utility, and as long as things are getting built. That's really the key. If things are getting built and utilizing Theta, that'll be very good for the churn of tokens within the system, right? Now, on the other side of things, though, on the governance side of things, Wrapped Theta has always kind of concerned me a little bit because we do have validators, right? We have validators and they hold stake and they protect the network. And then we have the guardians that also act as the second line of defense. And one thing I've thought about, especially when T-Fuel came about for DeFi application, was what happens when Wrapped Theta comes about? Right, and someone creates some DeFi treasuries and some CeFi treasuries using Theta as the main token, and then figuring out a way to either on another chain or cross-chain create high levels of APR, APY, right? Let's just say, for example, they figure out how to pool up money of Theta, and they can get you a yield of, I don't know, let's say 10%, right? Just be on the low side, but close to stablecoin side. Get you a 10% yield on the Theta, right? Because that money's locked in the treasury, and then they're doing some smart contract routing to a stablecoin APR, APY provider, and then that's how funds get rerouted back to the original Theta holders that have in those treasuries. So with that being said, though, as that builds traction, the yield for Theta as a governance token for the Guardian holders is not as great. Now, obviously, you could argue that, oh, well, the price of Theta will go up as these applications get built because more and more is getting pushed off the side. And it's like, yeah, but as that value goes up, is it going to chase the 10% yield or is it going to chase the 2% in the form of Guardian versus the DeFi application? So obviously it may go back to the Guardian once maybe some of those DeFi things have hacks or have issues, right? They blow up and then people go back to safety. But in those middle times, though, does that potentially put Theta at a risk in the term of decentralization, right? Because yes, we have validators, but okay, so if all Guardians just go and play off in DeFi land to earn 10, 20, 30% in yields, then really what we have, though, is a chain that is run by a consortium of companies then, right? It's not really it's like a Libra then, right? Let's just not pretend about what I'm seeing, at least here. Maybe you see something different here, but you have a consortium of companies controlling the directionality potentially of that network. And I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. I think I'm indifferent on the decentralization debate because I think that there's plenty of centralized applications that are very useful to society that aren't decentralized and provide immense value, and no one actually cares that they are centralized, in at least right now, right? So as long as it provides utility to the person or the user in the right way, that is truly what is important from an end user standpoint. Now, if your goal is to be decentralized, then yeah, maybe you feel a different way about that. But basically, to me, this is a consortium run chain where you have companies running or smaller companies validating, and then that creates the outcomes. But if the guardians are all playing off in DeFi land instead of being the backstop, does that hurt security potentially? Maybe. I don't know, but it's something that we should think about, because yield is attractive and people are going to go off and they're going to play. So really have to think hard about what that means going forward, because we really don't want to get into a situation like proof of stake in general. This is what happens where money gets pooled all in one provider, right? One DeFi application. And then you have a very polarizing control if the DeFi application is relieving you of your governance rights, right? So I think a good example would be like Lido, right? Lido has become a premier solution for ETH, right? For staking. The problem is they've taken such a large chunk of the percentage of supply within their ranks. So we don't know how that plays out yet, right? When one provider gets that much, or if they actually act in a good way versus a nefarious way, we don't know that yet. I'm assuming people are going to try to act in the best way possible, but obviously when money's involved, we have to assume that people have there's a sense of potential malice that could occur. So I think that's very important going forward to really think about how we can make Wrapped Theta more useful to the Guardian node holders as well as the Elite Edge node holders. One idea that I've been kicking around with a couple friends is figuring out a way where we could actually use the Guardian tokens, right? Or even non-stake tokens, right? You could just say traditional Theta, and you could bond them, right, to an Elite Edge node. And when you bond them to an Elite Edge node, it locks them and then becomes a representative for a T-Fuel value, right? So that way then, or acts as a multiplier to the T-Fuel value. These are all potentials that we've been trying to think about of ways that we can also create excess percentile reward for a Theta holder outside of the governance side of things, right? Because there is a clear spread between the yield that is on T-Fuel and the yield that is on Theta. Now, I'm just spitballing here, of course, so there's nothing set in stone, and I'll probably have a deeper, more formulated thesis on this as we go down, but the idea would be is that, hey, I hold this, and I'm trying to basically get more yield out of it, but also not putting the Theta token in the hands of some third-party DeFi actor, right? But also allowing for a decent amount of yield that protects the network and provides value all at the same time. Maybe not in the form of governance in that sense, but locks tokens away from some of those DeFi providers, right? And of course, accruing value. So just some thoughts about what can happen with a security model. Now, I like the validator model because it protects things at a base layer. But like I said, let's not pretend like it's not potentially centralizing as things go forward, especially in the fact that what happens is you have one application or one, like Samsung launches their own, they have their validator, they launch their subchain or metachain, and when they do that, they're the ones going to be driving the initial most amount of value, right? So all the T fuel, a lot of theta, a lot of wrapped theta going through and churning through that one application. Eventually, you end up with one who has the most at the top, right? In some cases. So I'm thinking about these things. I'm trying to figure out how much of a risk that is. Obviously, one thing I've learned, and I said this in the last video, is that these games can go on longer than what people realize sometimes. So maybe my thinking is too short-sighted in the sense that maybe this is a problem for year 20 and maybe not a year for, or a problem for year 3 or year 2. So yeah, let me know what you think about that, because I'm trying to think about it in a very rational way, but I also think there is a good value capture for a dev here. You know, there's a lot you could capture, and there's not a lot of innovating that you have to do. So with that, my friends, that is my Sunday morning. I look forward to seeing you in Patreon, and I look forward to seeing you on Twitter. So please like, subscribe, share, and I will see you on T Fuel Island. Until next time, my friends, take care. Bye-bye.